Some fans think Death was trying to teach Puss how to live.
Well, if it isn't Puss in Boots himself.
There's one interpretation of Puss in Boots, the last wish that completely changes how fans look at Death. Most villains want power, revenge, or control. Death doesn't seem interested in any of that. Instead, supporters point to one thing he keeps bringing up over and over again: Puss wasted 8 lives. Not lost, wasted. That's the detail. Death talks about how Puss laughs in the face of danger, treats mortality like a joke, and burns through life after life without learning anything from it. Fans think that's why Death becomes obsessed with him. Death constantly mentions squandered lives. He gives Puss chances during their encounters. He refuses to finish things immediately, then everything changes when Puss finally starts fighting for his last life, instead of assuming he'll always get another one. Suddenly, Death loses interest. Unless the goal was forcing Puss to finally value his life, then the ending fits perfectly. That's why some fans see Death less as a villain and more as the world's most terrifying life coach. And honestly, that's a pretty disturbing lesson coming from Death himself. Shifu created Tai Lung. The theory says Tai Lung was never actually destroyed by the Dragon Scroll.
Master, this is no longer your home, and I am no longer your master.
Shifu destroyed him. Fans point to one detail that keeps coming up whenever people discuss Tai Lung's fall. From the moment Shifu finds him, everything in his life revolves around becoming the Dragon Warrior. Every lesson, every compliment, every sacrifice points toward the same goal. Tai Lung even says it himself. Who filled my head with dreams? Who drove me to train until my bones cracked? Because Tai Lung isn't blaming Oogway in that moment. He's blaming Shifu. Then Oogway refuses to name him Dragon Warrior, and the person who spent years convincing Tai Lung that this was his destiny suddenly has no answer. So, Tai Lung's obsession with the Dragon Scroll maybe isn't really about power, because by the time Tai Lung attacks the valley, he's still chasing the same thing he wanted as a child: his father's approval. Lord Shen created his own prophecy. The theory argues that Lord Shen was destroyed by his fear of destiny. Let me explain. Fans point to the prophecy itself as the biggest clue. It says a warrior of black and white will defeat Shen. That's it. Then, Shen hears the prophecy and immediately starts trying to stop it. He targets the pandas, builds weapons, creates an army, and spends years trying to control the future. Supporters say that's where the whole thing falls apart. Because every major event that leads to Shen's defeat starts with Shen himself. He attacks the pandas. Po survives. Years later, he learns the truth and becomes the exact warrior the prophecy warned about. Shen spends his entire life trying to prevent a future that only exists because of the choices he makes after hearing about it. Fans also point to his exile. Instead of helping him deal with his fears, his parents banish him. The rejection sticks with him for decades. So the theory sees Shen as a villain who accidentally builds the thing he fears most. And if he had ignored the prophecy completely, would there have been anyone left to fulfill it? Metro City created its own villain. Megamind's story gets a lot darker when you stop looking at what he became and start looking at how everyone treated him before he became it. Fans point to the opening as the biggest clue. Metro Man lands in a mansion and instantly becomes the city's golden boy. Megamind lands in a prison and immediately becomes the problem. Same city, same day, completely different future. Then the pattern keeps repeating. Megamind tries to fit in at school. His inventions fail. People laugh, he gets punished. Metro Man gets celebrated. That's where this rabbit hole starts. Because even after becoming a supervillain, Megamind's version of evil is strangely harmless compared to what you'd expect. Giant robots, elaborate traps, dramatic speeches, public showdowns. Then Hal enters the story as the real test. He gets powers, admiration, and a genuine chance to become a hero. And he immediately abuses it. The guy everyone expected to become a villain spends most of his life playing one. The guy who was supposed to become a hero becomes genuinely dangerous the moment he gets power. Supporters argue that's why Megamind feels surprisingly tragic. He wasn't born evil, he was given a role, reminded of it for years, and eventually started acting it out. Pitch Black was fighting for his own survival. There's a theory about Pitch Black that makes him look a lot less like a classic villain and a lot more like the only guardian nobody wanted. Hundreds of years ago, people feared the dark. Pitch was powerful. Then the Guardians arrived. Children started believing in wonder, dreams, memories, and hope instead. pitch slowly faded into the background. Supporters point out that his biggest fear isn't losing a fight, it's being forgotten. That's why he spends the movie attacking belief itself. He targets the Tooth Palace. He targets Bunny's world. He targets the things keeping the Guardians alive. Every child who stops believing in them starts believing in him instead. Same source of power but different emotions, so maybe Pitch isn't trying to conquer the world because he enjoys evil. He's desperately trying to stay relevant in a world that decided it no longer needs him. Kai believed power was the only thing keeping people alive. Most fans see Kai as a power-hungry villain, but another interpretation makes his obsession with strength a lot easier to understand. Supporters point to his past with Oogway as the biggest clue. Before either of them became legends, they were warriors fighting side by side. Then Oogway was nearly killed in battle and only survived because the pandas saved him with chi. Fans think Kai comes away from that experience believing that power is the only thing protecting anyone from loss. The stronger you are, the safer you are. He steals chi. He collects warriors. He turns masters into jade soldiers and carries them around like trophies. Every warrior he defeats becomes proof that strength is the only thing that lasts. That's why some fans see him as a dark reflection of Oogway. Oogway learned that power means trusting others. Kai learned the opposite. After 500 years trapped in the spirit realm, he doesn't want connection anymore. He wants control. Prince Charming lost everything because somebody else got his happy ending. What if Prince Charming is the only guy in Shrek who was actually following the script? Fans point to the fact that Charming spends his entire life being raised for one purpose: you rescue the princess, marry the princess, become the prince everyone expects him to be. Then Shrek shows up. Suddenly the princess chooses the giant green ogre. His mother gets turned into bubbles, and everybody moves on. Except him. Supporters point out something weird about the beginning of Shrek the Third. Charming isn't conquering kingdoms, he's working a miserable dinner theater job while people laugh at him. Then, the fairy tale characters show up, mock him, remind him of his failures, and leave. Not exactly therapy. Yes, he's arrogant. Yes, he's narcissistic. But imagine someone kills your mom, steals the future you've been promised since childhood, and then the entire kingdom throws a party. Honestly, is it just me, or is Prince Charming a little bit understandable? Lord Farquaad was trying to build the perfect kingdom. Fans have a theory that Lord Farquaad is obsessed with control. Everything is perfectly organized, perfectly clean, perfectly structured. The buildings match, the rules match. Even the grass looks like it got permission before growing. Supporters point out that Farquaad spends the entire movie trying to eliminate unpredictability. Fairy tale creatures are chaotic. They don't follow rules. They don't fit neatly into his version of society, so he pushes them out. Then he wants legal legitimacy. He wants a proper royal marriage. He wants titles, structure, order. Even Duloc itself feels less like a kingdom and more like a giant attempt to control every possible variable. And honestly, fans sometimes joke that if Farquaad had access to spreadsheets, he'd be unstoppable. Now, obviously, he's still a dictator. Gingy would definitely have some opinions about that. But according to this interpretation, Farquaad's actions come from insecurity more than cruelty. He's constantly compensating, constantly proving himself, constantly trying to create a world where nothing can embarrass, reject, or surprise him. Maybe that's why control mattered more to him than power ever did.